Welcome back. You're watching today's bets. SGX Nifty, let's quickly pull that up, still above the 11,400 mark. 11,421 was the rate that SGX Nifty was indicating as well. But moving on, Amit Shah, Amar Singh, as well as Ashish Chaturmurthy that will be joining us with their strategies today. Welcome to the show, Amit. To start off with, firstly, what are the top picks that we would be watching out for in today's day of trade?
Sure. Dr. Reddy is something that we are looking for. Overall, pharma sector is looking like after a long vacation, I would say, is coming back to life, and Dr. Reddy is looking good within that space. Even Lupin is looking good. So Dr. Reddy looks good with the target of 2500 and a stop loss of 2270. Lupin is a positional trade that we like a lot. I think a lot of upside is left for Lupin, and I do see Lupin heading towards on a positional basis 1150. So a lot of upside is left for Lupin. Yes, it's still not catching momentum since the sector is coming out of a long consolidation, but it definitely is a positional buy, and as time goes, we will see momentum catching up in these stocks basically.
Right. So
and ZENSARTECH is also a pick which
yeah, go on.
Yeah.
What's your strategy on ZENSARTECH?
Yes, ZENSARTECH is also catching up good momentum. It has broken out from its consolidation pattern, and now it's looking good for 1500 on the upside.
Amit, have you had a chance to look at Jet Airways? There's been a lot of negative news flow of late on that stock, but at the same time the stock has gone and seen a fall of over 50% from the start of the year till now. Now today there's fresh news flow that the company is looking to raise 1500 to 2000 crore from NBFCs. But any kind of view on Jet Airways? Could it be used as a trading bounce?
Yes, actually it can be used. Some time back it did give a false move and then again corrected based on the news flow. See, if it can convincingly close above 310 for not just one day but maybe 2-3 days, then yes, some kind of a sustainable move can develop. See, so far the moves that are coming in Jet Airways, those are typically one day kind of moves. So yes, you need to see some sustainability above 310. If that were to happen, then yes, of this entire large fall, a bigger retracement is likely to happen, and you can see decent 15 and even 20% kind of an upside developing of the entire fall. Yes, the trend remains weak, but at this juncture I think it is trying to find some bottom out for itself, and yes, it needs to sustain about 300 for maybe not just one day but maybe 2-3 days. Then a sustainable move is likely to develop on Jet Airways.
Let's take a look at the GAIL stock over the last 1 month, and you'll see what's really been happening in that one. After the company has gone and declared its quarterly earnings approximately 15 days ago, the stock has gone and seen a very strong surge. On the chart there, it's up by 10% in the last 1 month itself. Amit, when you're looking at GAIL, fundamentally it's quite clear that quite a few analysts are positive on this one. Even yesterday it had gone and seen quite a strong upward move. Do you think that this rally that we've seen after earnings, is it over, or do you think that this is likely to continue?
Can you come again with the name, please?
GAIL.
The stock?
Gas Authority of India, GAIL.
GAIL.
Yes.
GAIL, yes. GAIL is something, is also our recommendation. And see, the stock is, in fact, if you see the entire pack of these gas stocks, they've been doing very well, and GAIL has actually formed a nice rounding bottom for itself in a large time frame, it is definitely a sign of accumulation. And the way the stock actually it had a short-term sell-off, and the way it hurriedly it's back above its all-time highs shows the bullishness in the stock. So yes, GAIL is something that we like. I think there's a lot of upside even from these levels. Won't be surprised if we see 430, 440 on GAIL on the upside. The trend is very, very positive on GAIL.
Right. So the trend is positive with regards to where GAIL is concerned. In fact, a lot of news around that stock as well. Yesterday, it closed high with gains of 3.5%. Amar Singh joining us as well. Welcome to the show, Amar, and a very good morning. We've just been talking with the kind of upside that we've seen with regards to where GAIL is concerned. What is your call on this counter?
Yeah, a very good morning. What we are seeing in GAIL in particular is that GAIL continues to be strong on the charts. Technically, it is very strong on the charts. And if I look at the long-term charts as well as the short-term charts as well, there was a pullback towards 360 levels, and from there it has bounced back. So overall, I would say the trend remains definitely positive. It needs to sustain, however, above 380 levels. So GAIL can be a buy. One can look at buying GAIL on any correction towards 385, 386 levels. So that can be a good level to look at GAIL.
Okay. Amar, also, can you run us through what are the few stocks that you prefer at the current juncture that one could look at buying into?
Yeah, the first one that one can look at is DLF. What we are witnessing in DLF is that DLF has corrected sharply, and from almost 170 levels, the stock has bounced back and currently around 206 levels. And if you look at the stock, the intermediate term trend as well as the short term trend, that remains positive. On the long term trend, I would say it's still sideways, but any dip can be used as a buying opportunity in DLF towards 203 levels. That can be a good level to buy with a stop loss of 197.8 and a target of 214 on the upside. And the second stock which I like is GAIL, which I just spoke about earlier, because this is one of the topics. What I'll just add on to GAIL is that GAIL has been resilient, and it did bounce back. And technically, it's very strong on the charts, be it the intermediate, the long term, or the short term. Short term, yes, I would say that there is some degree of choppiness, but still any pullback towards 385 levels can be used to initiate a long position with a stop loss of 378 and a target of 399 on the upside. And the third stock to look at is REC. What we are witnessing in REC is that this stock has been on it did bounce back from almost, you can say, 90 odd levels to currently trade around 108 levels. But overall, if I look at it from a long-term perspective, the stock is likely to meet with selling pressure towards 110, 111 levels. So that can be a level one can look at going short in REC with a stop loss of 114.3 and a target of 103 on the downside.
Right. So those are the top picks, three stocks that we will be watching out for: DLF, GAIL, as well as REC from Amar's basket. But moving on, another stock that I want to talk about is with regards to where UBL is concerned. The stock ended with gains of almost 4.5% in trade yesterday. In fact, the open interest addition was also pretty strong, almost 9%. Fresh longs that have been added with regards to UBL. Amit, what's your call with regards to where UBL is concerned?
Yes, UBL has actually been sideways for a long time and now is actually moving up with some conviction. My sense is it has got a lot of upside, and this is the kind of candidate where you see sustainable moves developing, So I won't be surprised to see UBL even beyond 1600 on the upside. So yeah, I think there's a lot of upside left for UBL. Yes, in the short term, it's been running since last 4-5 days. So some consolidation, some short-term move back towards the near-term supports, maybe 3-4% kind of correction is always possible. But that doesn't change the trend. The trend still looks very strong on the upside. One should actually look at the short-term pullbacks to actually get into the long side and hold this one for the positional trade. I think there's a good amount of money to be made on UBL.
Amar, another stock which has been in the news over the last few days and has done well is Sun Pharma. Now, yesterday the stock saw 2-2.5% kind of an upward move. But at the same time, it's been 3 days of gains. Stock has gone up by almost 7 or 8% in just the last 3 trading sessions since the earnings came through. How are you viewing this one?
I would say that looking at Sun Pharma, what Sun Pharma was witnessing over the last, I would say, at least 2 odd months or so, it was trading in a range, and on the downside 540, 550, that was a crucial support zone, and on the upside 590, 600, that was a resistance zone. Now that has been taken out decisively. So what it effectively means is that there is still upside to the stock, and looking at the stock from a long-term perspective, we see that definitely a bottom has been formed, and the stock on the upside, it could move towards 640, 650 levels. That's a level of a key resistance zone for Sun Pharma, where it could meet with some profit booking, as well as I would say those who would want to enter, they would wait for some correction. So I would say that yes, any dip can be used as a buying opportunity. It's good stop loss for Sun Pharma ideally would be below 585 levels.
So that's with regards to Sun Pharma from the pharma pack is concerned. But moving on from the financials, Kotak Mahindra Bank, as we mentioned, that's a stock that we will continue to focus on. Apart from that, Axis Bank as well as HDFC, both these counters are also seeing a huge volume built up in yesterday's day of trade. Amar, what is your call on Kotak, Axis as well as HDFC?
Yeah, talking about Kotak, what we are seeing in Kotak Mahindra Bank is that the stock, if you look at it, this is one stock which, in spite of the market hitting fresh highs, the stock has been correcting. But now it seems that the stock is likely to find very strong support around 1220, 1230 levels. So I would say that this is one stock one can definitely look at buying around these levels. So the stop loss ideally should be below 1200 levels. Whereas on the upside, one can expect 1290 to 1300 on the upside. So I would say one can look at Kotak Bank. Talking about Axis Bank, what we are witnessing in Axis Bank is that this stock is on a roll. Honestly, if you see from almost 500 to 620 levels currently, and if I look at the long-term charts, what it is doing is that it has breached the earlier resistance of 600 and 610 levels and trading consistently above that. So the stock has an upside potential towards 640, 650 levels. So one can, any dip can be used as a buying opportunity in Axis Bank. And what was the third stock you talked about?
Right. HDFC Bank. Amar, HDFC Bank.
Yeah, talking about HDFC Bank, I would say that HDFC Bank, if you look at, again, it's forming a similar pattern as what I talked about in Kotak. But still on the downside, I would say that it has got support levels coming around 2020, 2030. So it's still far away from those levels. But yes, I would say rather wait for those levels.
Right. Also joining us now is Ashish Chaturmota. Ashish, what are your top calls for the day? And also, do you have a view on future retail? Now, that stock has been very volatile, but last 2 days, the kind of upward move it has had, is this a breakout? Ashish? Right, I think there's some kind of an audio glitch. But again, the future retail is a stock which needs to be discussed. Amit, what's your view? Have you seen future retail? Last couple of days, the stock has been on an upward move, and the markets at the same time have been very volatile. But even despite that, it's moving up. Do you see any kind of a fresh, bout of buying coming through in this one?
Are you talking about ABFRL, the 194?
No, the
stock,
future retail stock,
trading at 194?
which is at 512. Future retail.
Okay. 1 second, my chart somehow doesn't show that one. I don't know what's the error.
Right. Okay. Amar, do you have a view on future retail?
Yeah, looking at future retail, what we are seeing is that the stock from April, if you look at it, the stock from almost last week of April, it has corrected from 640 levels. and then it has bounced back from 460 odd levels to currently trade around 512. So I would say that yes, it seems that the worst is over for the stock, and the stock could head higher towards 540, 550 levels, because that would be the next level of resistance for the stock, because the stock on the downside now seems to be very strongly supported and does appear to be forming a bottom.
Joining us now is Ashish Chaturmoto. Ashish, if you can hear me, firstly, what is your view on the markets today as far as the Nifty is concerned? Global cues are quite positive. So what kind of trading range do you expect to be seen today? And besides that, what are the few stocks that one should look out for in today's trade?
Sure. Good morning. So, despite the global sell-off which we witnessed in last two trading sessions, the kind of weakness we had in our market, which was very, very lackluster, and we even didn't break the crucial support of 11,350 levels. So I believe that technically speaking, till Nifty don't break this 11,350 levels, we are going to remain range bound between 11,350 to 11,450, 460 mark. And once we see a decisive move beyond 11,450, then I can convincingly say that we are heading for a stronger up move towards 11,650, 11,700 zone. However, in a shorter term, if we break this 11,350 levels on downside, that will be a first sign of weakness emerging into the market. So I believe that technically speaking, we are in a range, and that range is between 11,350 to 11,450 levels.
Right. And Ashish, how important is Bank Nifty going to be in today's day of trade? Because yesterday it was Kotak Mahindra Bank that actually pulled Bank Nifty lower as well. What's the trend that you're picking up?
See, really, if you look at, in the banking space, there is a clear shift which we are witnessing now. Going forward, we are seeing a lot of, long accumulation happening in stocks like Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, and there is some amount of, selling pressure or liquidation pressure being witnessed in stocks like Kotak Mahindra Bank, HDFC Bank. So I think that's the reason, we are not witnessing any major trends in Bank Nifty, but definitely if I have to take a bet within a banking space, then I think Axis and ICICI would be a preferred bet at these juncture, particularly Axis Bank, which has been consolidating for many years in a range between 650 to almost 450 on downside. And now if you look at in last couple of trading sessions, we have seen a significant amount of open interest addition in stock. So I believe that Axis Bank is poised for a stronger up move towards 660 in a shorter term, and 700, 720 positionally over next 3 to 4 months time frame. So I think any dip in Axis Bank is an opportunity to initiate a long position. Apart from that, RBL Bank, Yes Bank, these are the two banks in the private sector space in the mid cap side which will see a stronger upside. So both these stocks looks good for at least 7 to 8% kind of jump from current levels.
Right. And Ashish, apart from the banking space, any other top picks that we could be watching out for in today's day of trade?
Yep. So, RBL Bank is one of the bet we have recommended. So with a stop below 562, in a shorter term, we are expecting RBL Bank to hit 596. Rupee is seeing a depreciation, so you might see strong uptrend emerging in the entire IT basket. So Infy is one stock we have been recommending, and here we have a target of 1460, 1470 on upside. Apart from that, Tata Elxsi is showing very strong uptrend. So it has been consolidating for last 6-7 trading sessions near its all-time high. This could be initiated as a buy idea with a stop below 1420. Tata Elxsi is poised for a move towards its previous all-time high. So 1480, 1490 is a target we are expecting in Tata Elxsi as well. United Breweries Limited, this is also one stock we had recommended a couple of days back. Yesterday it has hit an all-time high, and if you look at the volume, it has been significantly, on upside in last 3-4 trading sessions. It is a major consolidation breakout which has happened in United Breweries Limited. So I think this is a long-term trend which the stock is witnessing. So in a shorter term, one can expect a target of 1450, 1460. But positionally, I believe United Breweries Limited has a potential to even cross 1600 levels over a period of next 3 to 5 months time frame. So this could be initiated as a buy idea. In a shorter term, one can keep 1365 as an trading stop loss. And Pharma basket, Sun Pharma is one stock which is, riding the trend and is looking very, very strong. It has given a monthly breakout beyond 600 odd levels. So I think now with a stop below 605, Sun Pharma has a potential to test 660, 670 zone.
Right, right, Ashish. We'll just come back to you with a few more stock movers. But before that, let's go across to Arun Kumar. He's the market strategist at Reliance Securities. Arun, welcome to the show. When you're looking at the overall markets, how is the day expected to pan out? Because the SGX Nifty is not showing much of an upward move. But when you're looking at the rest of Asia or even the US markets last night, it was quite a positive day for them as well. So how is our market expected to open, and then what could be the trading range for the day?
Hi Shail, good morning. But the market is expected to remain flattish to maybe slightly positive. But we have to see how it will pan out during the second half of the day, because most of the oscillators on daily time frame are in sell. If you look at Nifty or if you look at Bank Nifty, there are already even some of the medium-term oscillators have just triggered a sell. So we may see either a very minor half-a-day rally or probably a few hours of rally. But we expect the pressure to kick in maybe slightly later during the day.
Arun, the rupee has been playing spoilsport in that sense, and the markets have been worried about the weakening rupee over the last few days. Today is a bank holiday and there'll be no rupee trading. Do you think this may help an upward move in today's trade?
Possible. That is one of the factors which may be slightly in favor also.
Right. Okay, Arun, can you run us through your top stocks, the ones that you like at the current juncture?
Because we have bank holiday also in place, and the Asian markets are slightly positive. We are liking a few buy calls at this juncture. One of them which we like is Colgate Palmolive. It closed around 1,140. We are looking at a trading target of 1,180 to 1,200. Stop loss will be around 1,115. The setup is good, and maybe this trade will play out in a period of 2 or 3 days. The next stock which we like is Godrej Consumer Product. It closed around 1,335. Yesterday the move was quite good, and it's a near-term breakout, trend line breakout. So probably any intraday dip towards 1,315 or 1,320 one can use to buy. Target for this stock is around 1,440 to 1,450, and stop loss will be 1,290. Apart from this, the setup of Maruti is looking good. It closed around 9,200. It can possibly move towards 9,550 to 9,650. Stop loss will be around 9,070. These are our buy calls, and we have a couple of sell calls.
Right. Arun,
One is-
which are the sell calls that you have for today's day?
We have PFC is looking a bit weak. It closed around 81. Probably any rally during the early part of the day, maybe we can see it move to 81, 80 or 82. One can use the rise to sell around those around the set range, and it may fall to 72 to 74. Stop loss will be 84 rupees. The next stock which we feel is slightly negative is REC Limited. It closed around 108.75. One can use a minor bounce towards 110 to sell, and it has good potential to weaken till 100 to 102. Stop loss will be around 112.
Right. So those are two sell calls coming in with regards to PFC as well as REC. Ashish, coming to you, what's your call with regards to Balkrishna Industries as well? We have seen fresh longs that have been taken place. The stock also closed almost near the day's highs with gains of 4.5% in yesterday's day. Do you think we could see that momentum to continue?
Definitely, Hiral, this is a very, very strong pattern. And if whenever there was a discussion with regards to this tire basket, and I have been always recommending Balkrishna Industries as our top pick because it has got a very strong exposure globally, and with rupee, seeing this kind of depreciation and across there is a currency fall which we are witnessing. It's going to be a major beneficiary, and that is being clearly reflected on the charts. Now this is a major breakout after consolidating in a range between 1100 to 1300 levels. So logically speaking, at least 1500 could be a short-term target which one can expect in Balkrishna Industries. But looking into this broad trend, I don't think 1480 1500 is going to be a stop for Balkrishna Industries, but definitely in a shorter term this is a target one can expect in Balkrishna Industries. And for this uptrend to continue, I believe now 1340 1345 should be a key support zone. So I think one can buy Balkrishna Industries at current levels, and if any dip comes towards 1350 1360 zone, that would be an ideal area to average onto your long positions. And in a shorter term, one can expect a target around 1500 levels.
So 1500 could be a target with regards to Balkrishna Industries. And staying with the auto space, Amit, coming to you, what's your call with regards to where Amara Raja battery goes?
Yeah, see, Amara Raja has in the near term actually it's trying to come out of its short-term range. So it is likely that this momentum will take it forward to 890, 900 kind of levels. It is still in a broader range. So 900 is the upper end of the range, and the lower end of the range is 722. So it's been moving between this 720 and 900 kind of levels. So yes, the near term looks like it is headed and it will test that 890, 900 kind of levels. Once it can actually sustain about that 900 kind of levels, then it would be the major move coming up for the stock. I mean, the stock has been languishing for quite a while now while the bull market was on. But if it crosses below above 900, then yes, it could see a major trend. It could see fresh all-time highs for the stock. But in the near term, yes, 900 looks likely.
So 900 looks likely with regards to Amara Raja as well. We're just 4 minutes away from pre-open, but let's quickly slip into a short break and then we'll get you more trading strategies as well as pre-open rates as well after the break. Welcome back. You're watching Opening Trade. We're just a minute and a half away from pre-open, but SGX Nifty is still indicating pretty much a flattish start, but above the 11,400 mark. 11,423 is the indication that we're picking up. The rupee is close, so that volatility and impact is going to be slightly negated as well in today's day of trade. But moving from there on, overall in terms of other stocks as well, what's the setup looking like, Amar, if you have to see with regards to where NBCC is concerned, because we've seen some bit of short covering that has come in on this counter in yesterday's day of trade. The stock was also up almost 4%.
Yeah, looking at NBCC, what we are seeing is that the stock seems to have bottomed out and taken strong support around 60 odd levels. And then it did make a high of almost 80 levels, and then it corrected and currently it's around 75. So looking technically on the charts, it seems that the stock is still in a downtrend, but what we are witnessing is that there has been some short covering as well as some buying around lower levels. But I would say that on the upside, till the time it really doesn't trade above 85-90 levels, the stock is likely to trade consolidated in a consolidation phase. But any pullback can be used as a buying opportunity. Now 68.
Right. In fact, let's quickly see the pre-market open rates as well. 11,441 is what Nifty 50 is indicating, an upside of around almost 0.4 to 0.5%. 38,092 is the level that we're looking at with regards to Sensex as well. So as Shell was also mentioning, the market is, the trend is looking pretty much positive as well. And the way the US markets and European markets have closed, we could see that translating into the domestic markets as well. Kotak Mahindra Bank an up move of around 0.5% coming in there. Let's pull up ICICI Bank as well as an Axis Bank as well, because we are expecting that positivity to continue. Axis Bank is showing an uptrend of 2.5%. ICICI Bank which is showing an uptrend of almost over 1% in trade. HDFC Bank is up around 1%. So there is some bit of positiveness with regards to where the banking counters is concerned. Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, let's pull up both these counters because both these stocks did see a lot of buying interest in yesterday's day of trade as well. Sun Pharma, a marginal uptick of around 0.2% coming in there. We have Dr. Reddy's which is up 0.2%. Lupin as well, let's pull up that one, as well as Anatco Pharma. Lupin seeing gains of around 0.6%. Cipla around 1.5%. Jet Airways, let's see that one as well on the back of fundraising plans that we are looking at. That's going to be a stock we will continue to focus on as well. Jet Airways is showing an uptrend of around 3.5%. Apollo Hospitals, another one to watch out for in today's day of trade. OMCs also will be in focus. Let's see what the OMCs are making in trade as well, because overall the way crude has been panning out, that's going to be a space that will continue to remain in focus. BPCL, HPCL, IOC, all trading in the positive. But overall, if you see Nifty 50 as well, 11,441 is the rate that we are picking up. AstraZeneca Pharma is seeing good amount of gains. TCS, Maruti as well. TCS on the back of an order win. Apart from that, Maruti on the back of a marginal price hike that they've taken, not a major one, but 6,100 rupees ex showroom. That's the hike that has been taking. In fact, Maruti was picking up in trade in yesterday's session as well. Gati as well as All Cargo Logistics were in focus in yesterday's session of trade, and they continue to be in focus today as well. NBCC on the back of an order win is in focus. Marginal gains of around 0.9% coming in there. But overall, at least in pre-open, 11,437 is the rate that we're picking up with regards to Nifty 50. Ashish, coming to you, pre-open is indicating levels of around 11,430 in terms of Nifty, a 0.5% up move coming in there. What is your call? Do you think that the positivity is here to stay, at least with the kind of initial rates that we are seeing?
See, as I mentioned, that the broader trend still is very, very, positive until we don't see a clear break below 11,350 on closing basis. I think that markets are going to remain, sideways to positive. And once we see a decisive move beyond 11,450, I think that will be a strong breakout, at least in a short-term consolidation phase, and that will trigger an upside towards 11,600, 650 kind of zone. So I think, yes, even if market opens gap up, this gains, there is a likelihood that these gains will hold on. And technically, I think if you open somewhere around 11,440, 445 levels, then one should keep 11,380 as a trading stop loss and can initiate a long positions.
Right. Overall as well, if you see with regards to SBI, that's also pretty much in the positive terrain right now in pre-open trade. 0.8% higher is what SBI, 295 is the level that we are getting an indication right now. But apart from that, the other counters that we will be watching out for as well, let's just pull up a couple of them as well. Apart from the OMCs, tire companies that have been in focus, Balkrishna Industries, Apollo Tires, MRF, all these counters that will continue to remain in focus on the way crude has panned out. Coming to you, we have Arun Kejriwal as well, founder at Chris, joining us. Welcome to the show, Mr. Kejriwal. To start off with, firstly, overall the trend is looking pretty positive right now. Yesterday's session of trade, we had Kotak Mahindra Bank that actually pulled the Nifty as well as the Bank Nifty lower as well. What's the sense that you're picking up with regards to markets?
Well, I believe we are getting towards the end of this current rally that we have been seeing in the market. Probably we are in the last phases of it. So today seems to be a good day for that sharp up move where 11,495, which is the all-time high on the Nifty, could be challenged intraday as well. And it's a matter of time, maybe a couple of days before we see markets correcting themselves all over again. Let's understand one thing, that with reporting season over, the kind of results that we have seen from the mid and small cap, they don't give you that much to be enthused about, which could justify valuations which we are seeing in the market.
Right. So overall as well, as you're saying, Mr. Kejriwal, that the rally might be over right now pretty soon. But any top picks that you would recommend before the rally is over where someone could invest?
I would never like to recommend a rally for a couple of days, which could extend to a week to any investor. It doesn't make sense because an investor by nature doesn't have the ability to exit making some small money. He always tends to hang on. It's better to wait for the correction and then recommend stocks for investors.
Right. So wait for the correction to come in as well before entering any counters as well. But coming on, what's the sense that you're picking up, Amar, with regards to paint companies, Berger, Asian Paints, Kansai, Nerolac? These counters also will be beneficiaries on the way crude has been panning out right now.
Yeah, looking at Asian Paints, what we've been witnessing in Asian Paints is that this stock has been on a, I would say, a range-bound trade, and currently it's around 1394 odd levels. The trend definitely remains positive. I would say extremely strong on the long term as well as the intermediate term trend, but the short term trend has been witnessing choppy trading sessions, but it seems that the stock is supported very strongly around 1370 odd levels. So once it consistently starts trading above 1420 levels, we could see a further rally in this stock towards 1450, 1460. The other stock which you mentioned, if I look at Berger Paints, what we are seeing in Berger Paints is that this stock technically has a different picture altogether. It is strong on the daily charts as well. That's the reason we are seeing this rally in stock from almost, if you look at 300 levels to 330 levels. So this is, I would say, a better stock to look at buying. So any pullback towards 320, 22 levels, that can be used as a buying opportunity with a stop loss below 350 and a target of 345 on the upside.
All right, that's Berger Paint for you, 1.5% up in trade as we speak. It's a little quiet on the street today, but I think markets will be heaving a sigh of relief that at least the currency markets are shut today. Arun, just come in on the currency front and everything that we've seen there recently. Breached 70 decisively against the dollar for 2 straight sessions. It's the biggest weekly fall in 5 years. On the currency. Usually running up to an election, you do see some kind of a currency weakness, but this time those global pressures are adding to it. What's the view on currency? And therefore, of course, like you said, this rally may be topping out. Could currency play spoilsport, and are we looking at a significant correction because of the currency cues?
Well, one of the factors that typically happens when an election year is round the corner is, of course, politics, which does sort of weaken the rupee to some extent. That, I believe, has now happened, and probably it's getting overdone. It's more of a contagion effect. We've seen the Turkish lira take a pounding. We also have some other emerging markets, currencies which are under pressure. The rupee seems to be also having a combination of these factors. Crude was playing spoil sport for some time, but it seems to be now getting back under control. So I think it's a matter of time before the rupee starts strengthening. You must keep in mind the fact that we have more than adequate reserves. So that is not a matter of concern for us. But with Donald Trump up to his usual stuff, where he surprises the economy much more than people expect, you never know what next. To cut a long story short, I believe the worst in the currency is about to be behind us, and one should not be looking at further depreciation from these levels, but some sort of a steady appreciation.
All right, some sort of steady appreciation, in fact, is possible. Ashish, I know you do track the technicals of the currency as well. Shut today, of course, on account of Parsi New Year, but if you can give us a near-term level to watch out for on the rupee.
See, Deep, so, as far as USD is concerned, if you look at in 2013, it made an all-time low at 69.61. Then there was an attempt made in 2016, and finally a breakout happened in 2018. So this is almost a 5-year history of USD INR, and after 5 years, if something is consolidating and giving a breakout on upside, I think going forward till now, rupee don't break on downside 69.20, I see a strong possibility of USD INR hitting or crossing 71.40, 71.50 mark. So I think further further depreciation in rupees definitely we are expecting. And if you look at dollar index, after a long time this has also been sustaining beyond this 96 level. So I think it was also consolidating in a range between 92 to 95 for a very long time. And after this, we have seen a breakout beyond 96. I think this is a little more sustainable in nature, and dollar index itself is showing a lot of trend. So it's not about only INR. I think broadly across the globe we are going to see dollar getting strength against most of the currencies, and that could lead to some selling pressure coming into USD INR as well.
All right, so that's the long and short of it as far as the currency goes. Watch out for this one, because again, that is going to have an impact on the market dynamics as well. Shut today, of course, on account of Parsi New Year. But let me just talk about a couple of mid-cap movers before really we get to market open. Amar, come in on HDIL. It's been gaining a lot of traction of late. Of course, fundamentally, you never get a recommendation on this one, but technically, this chart was at about 18 a month ago. From there, it's been a very, very smart rally, one-way up move, especially in the last few trading sessions on an HDIL. What's the near-term chart indicator telling you for this? And of course, where is the next level that HDIL can head to?
Yeah, overall what we've seen in HDL, this stock has been in a sustained bear market, and after bottoming out around 20 odd levels, the stock is rallied and currently around 30.6. So it has some upside, but immediate resistance what I see is around 31.20 and 32. That's a very crucial resistance level for HDIL. Taking that out, it can head higher towards 35, 36 odd levels, but again, that it will meet with selling pressure there, and so I would say that the stock is nearing its resistance level, so one should rather wait for this stock for any buying opportunity.
All right, that is on an HDL, so maybe a short-term trade on that is still possible. Amit, come in on a couple of these media stocks again, have been very, very volatile. Top sectoral movers in trade yesterday. You have a Sun TV, of course, which has been doing well for the last couple of days. Hathway, Den have been very, very volatile. You've had 8% cuts and then a 5-6% pullback on 2-3 straight trading sessions. How is the chart structure looking here? Which is the strongest stock if one was to look at the media space right now?
One second. See, yeah, I mean, if I look at the sector, overall the sector has been not doing great. But within sector, if I were to pick something, then I would pick Sun TV. Though also in the short term it's not strong, but it's giving indications that it's making a sort of base for itself. So Sun TV would be something. Though this is not my favorite space as of now, but if I were to pick something, I would pick Sun TV for an upside for a recovery coming from here.
All right, so Sun TV.
Sun TV could recover towards, yeah.
All right, so recovery possible on the Sun TV. United Breweries, Ashish, just come in for a quick call on that one. Had seen a lot of positive traction in trade yesterday. We are getting the management a little later today to get to know about their business fundamentals as well. But on the charts, how does United Breweries look to you?
Very, very promising. In fact, UBL is one stock we have been recommending for a while, and whenever there was a comparison between UBL and United Spirits, and we had our positive always on United Breweries Limited, because technically this structure is very, very structural nature. If you look at it, made its all-time high somewhere in 2015 at around 1220, and then it made a double bottom somewhere around 700 odd levels, and finally a breakout happened in 2018 with this 1220 being crossed over. So I think if you look at this long consolidation pattern, technically it gives me a target somewhere around 1500 levels. But whenever we see this kind of long-term trend getting formed, these kind of trends don't stop at certain targets. I think this is a long-term story where the stock might eventually cross 1600 1700 zone also. But yes, in a very short term one can expect targets around 1500 levels in United Breweries Limited, and in a shorter term one can keep 1345 as a stop loss. But someone, if he is looking for a next 6 to 9 months perspective, then I think 1280 1300 is going to be a key support for United Breweries Limited.
All right, 1280, 1300 key support for United Breweries. Opening on a positive foot, 0.5% uptick on the Nifty coming in this morning. This was on the cards with the kind of strong global cues that you've had overnight. A 400-point rally on the Dow. Really, that global pullback is definitely having a positive effect on Indian markets. Up about 50 odd points in trade right now. Vedanta, Tata Steel, Hindalco leading from the front. They were amongst the top losers in trade yesterday. Metals across had seen big cracks in yesterday's trading session, so sharp bounce back coming in this space right now. Axis Bank continues to gain from strength to strength at fresh 52-week highs on that counter. Tata Motors hit multi-year lows once again in trade yesterday, seeing some kind of support at that 250 mark right now in trade as well. SBI, Punjab National, Bank of Baroda also seeing a bit of a pullback move. Again, PSU banks had been beaten down in yesterday's trading session. Indiabulls Housing Finance, this is an interesting one, and we'll get a technical check on this a little later as well. Strong OI addition happening in not only the current month's contract but the next 2 months' contracts as well. Grasim Industries holding out on its own. You have ITC that's looking good in trade right now. Coal India, Titan, Reliance Industries also providing some support to the markets. Advanced decline firmly in favor of the bulls. 45 Nifty stocks are trading in positive territory. On the flip side then, and this is just a minor weakness coming in on a Bharti Airtel, a Wipro and HDFC and Infi, which is at record highs, ONGC and BPCL, but hardly any cuts there. Broader markets performing largely in line with the benchmarks. Paint stocks that we were talking about in pre-open are looking good. Kansai Nerolac and Berger, both of them amongst the top gainers. GMR Infra, pullback coming in after cuts yesterday, 2.5% up on that counter as well. Bank of India from the PSU banking space. Union Bank, another one of their. Shriram Transport Finance. Adani Power is also looking good this morning. Again, the entire mid-cap metal basket is doing well. So Nalco, Steel Authority of India, JSPL amongst the top gainers in trade right now. Amar Raja is having a good day of trade. NBCC, a small order win coming in for 250 crores from sale to build a hospital in Kerala. Ajanta Pharma is looking good right now, and you also have something like an MRF which is on the move at this point in time. Some other mid-cap movers for you. HDIL that we were talking about in pre-open, 6% rally on this counter. Top gainer on the NSE 500 at this point in time. Rain Industries, Quality, JBF, Manpasand, Unitech are some of the other stocks that are looking good. Jet Airways, the pullback rally continues over here, 2.5% up in this one right now. L&T Technologies, Imami, Balkrishna Industries was active in trade yesterday as well, seeing some follow-on buying today. Cadla, which has been beaten down heavily, seeing a bit of a pullback this morning. So is a Shrey Infra, again beaten down heavily off late. Magma Fincorp, traders are getting excited about this one. We will talk about this in just a bit as well. Aarti Industries, DLF, Jindal Saw, Heritage Food, JK Infra, Ramco Systems, JP Associates. In fact, the entire JP group of stocks was buzzing in trade yesterday, as JP Power is likely to escape the NCLT. Losing out in trade then, Unichem Life Sciences, Unichem Laboratories, down about 2.5%. Eris Life Sciences down about 1.5%. Narayana Hridayalaya taking a bit of a knock right now as well. Phoenix Mills, Indocount Industries, GSPC, Orient Cement, Shoppers Stop, Everready, Apollo Hospitals. Again, a very smart rally that you've seen in this counter of late. Some minor profit booking coming in on that counter right now. SH Kelkar, Pfizer, again, a very smart rally that you've seen in this one lately. Some profit taking over there. Cochin Shipyard, Godrej Consumer and Serra Sanitaryware are some of the stocks that are losing out in trade. Sectorally, strength coming in from metals, from PSU banks, from real estate, and from some of the auto names. So essentially, beaten down names of this week are seeing a bit of a pullback today, while you are seeing minor profit taking in some of the IT as well as the FMCG stocks right now. But just to come in on a couple of these movers, Ashish, metals off to a very strong start in trade right now. Minor pullback, or do you think there could be some strength and case to invest in either the large caps, Vedanta, Hindalco, Tata Steel, or the likes of a SAIL, JSPL?
So Deep, these stocks have seen a sharper cut, so you will see this kind of strength coming, and particularly if I have to take a bet, then I think Tata Steel is a little more promising than as compared to the other metal names. But if you look at the broader trend, they are into a sideways consolidation, so I don't think it's going to be a very, very long-term trend for metal basket. But yes, for a good 3 to 4% kind of pullback trade, this could be definitely looked as an interesting buy idea. But apart from that, I think banking is one space which is looking very promising, and within that, RBL Bank, Yes Bank, these are the stocks which are showing very strong uptrend, and even Axis Bank in the large cap private sector banks is showing good amount of strength. So I think if I have to take a bet on stocks which can really do good over a period of next 2-3 weeks, then I think Axis Bank with a stop below 618 could be bought for an upside target of 660 levels, and RBL Bank, which is a clear breakout on daily weekly charts with a stop below 560 RBL Bank could be bought for 25 to 30 rupees upside from current levels.
All right, so RBL and Axis. In fact, Arun, I want you to come in on a couple of these private banks. Let's talk about Axis and let's talk about ICICI. Historically trading at a big discount to the likes of a Yes Bank or an HDFC Bank or even a Kotak Mahindra Bank at this point in time. What's your reading on both of these? Is there a case for a valuation catch-up story over here? And in that case, really makes sense to add both of these to your portfolio?
Well, there is a bit of negativity about it with the investigations going on, which is sort of holding back this share. If you keep that aside or give it some sort of a value discount, I believe your case is perfect. But if the approach is currently that because there is negativity, we do not know what can come out of it, let the probe get over, then only we will enter, that discount would continue. So it's a case of betting on what would be the outcome of the probe versus the discount.
All right, and I have a follow-up, Arun, but I'll just come back to you. I just want to highlight a Nalco in trade right now, a 4% surge coming in on that counter. Amar, within the metal pack, Nalco seeing most amount of strength right now. How does the chart look here, and any other metal names looking good to you for a short-term trade?
I would say that looking at Nalco, yes, Nalco looks strong on the charts, and on the daily charts it is finding some support around 65 66 odd levels. So if I look at the medium term chart, again it is showing some positive momentum, so this can be bought, and on the upside, however, it needs to consistently trade above 74 75 odd levels. And the other stock one can look at is among the metals pack, I would say, is Tata Steel.
All right, so Nalco looking good, and Tata Steel is another one that you need to keep an eye out on. Top volume gainers, mind you. Of course, Nalco is featuring in that list. JP Group stocks are featuring in that list. Reliance Communications, HDL, GMR is featuring in the list. ITC is also seeing very, very strong volumes right now. So keep an eye out on that large cap at this point in time. At the highs of the day, 2% move coming in on an ITC at this point in time. Amit, you want to take a quick chart check on an ITC? How does this one look to you?
Sure. Yeah, so see, ITC is coming out of a serious underperformance and made a good base for itself, It's doing all the right things. I think a catch-up rally is very much on the cards. On the short term, 325 to 330 from a trading perspective looks likely, but I think it's more probably than just a trading rally, and ITC has some way to go.
ITC has some way to go. Ashish, between ITC and HUL, which is the better bet? And then, of course, in the mid-cap universe, you're seeing something like an Imami, which is very active in trade right now.
No, so ITC we have been mentioning since the day the stock has crossed this 285 to 86 zone that structurally it is a strong counter now, and on upside I'll not be surprised to see the stock crossing 326 330 zone, because it's a multi-year, multi-month breakout which we are witnessing. So I think definitely in a shorter term 332 is what one can expect in the stock, and on downside I think 306 305 is going to be a key support zone for ITC going forward, so keep that as a trading stop loss. Now as far as HUL is concerned, again the trend is very, very promising there also. It is into a consolidation phase, but after a stellar up move it has gone into some consolidation. So I think once that consolidation gets over, we expect another 100-150 rupees kind of jump in Hindustan Lever also from current levels. So in the FMCG basket, both these names are looking very, very promising.
Both names looking promising. Arun, just a quick review of FMCG Q1 earnings. You've seen very strong volume growth. Of course, part of it is also on the back of low base, but consumption as a story seems to be gaining from strength to strength. And it's not just FMCG. You're seeing that across, whether it's alcohol, whether it's jewelry, whether it's, of course, innerwear, when something like a Page Industries, which has doubled. What's your reading of the earnings of FMCG and consumption in Q1, and do you expect this momentum to continue in subsequent quarters? Festive seasons also coming up.
Let's look at some of the factors which have contributed to this. If you see carefully, GST has also played a very, very important part. It has sort of separated the men from the boys as far as the organized and unorganized players are concerned. That has had a positive effect. Second, rural demand from tier 2, tier 3 centers across the entire consumption space has seen very robust demand, which has helped almost all of these counters. Thirdly, pricing rationalization, where the difference between a branded player and an unbranded player because of GST has also had an impact. So people were willing to pay the differential and buy a branded product. So I believe this should continue. To expect similar growth numbers may be a little out of place because the base effect will not be there in Q2. But general momentum in this space should continue.
The general momentum in this place should continue. Ashok Leyland, meanwhile, pull that up, bagging an order of 300 buses over there. That stock is buzzing in trade as well, 1.5% up on that counter at this point as well. Ashish, a quick chart check on an Ashok Leyland, highs of the day on this one right now.
Yeah, so I think some base building is happening in the stock after a sharp cut. We have seen some recovery coming into the stock. So, in a shorter term, one can expect a target of 134 levels. And for that, I think 126 should be kept as an trading stop loss.
All right, Ashok Leyland looking good this morning as well. 300 bus order when coming in. Amar, Apollo Hospitals, interesting chart, has seen a very, very sharp run up. Also, again, picked up momentum in trade right now as well. This week especially has been very strong for an Apollo Hospitals. What's the indicator here? What are the next levels to watch out for on this one?
Yeah, looking at Apollo Hospital, the stock has rallied from almost 950 levels to trade around 1150, and the trend and the momentum continues to remain extremely strong on the short term as well as the intermediate term trend. So on the upside towards 1170, 1180, that's going to be a level of resistance where we are likely to witness profit booking, and I would say that the stock could consolidate around those levels.
All right, that is an Apollo Hospitals for you. Grasim Industries now picking up momentum as the top gainer on the street. 2.5% jump coming in on that counter in trade. Keep a very close eye on that one. Bank of India from the PSU banking pack, which is the top sectoral mover in trade right now, also looking good at this point. 3.5% jump. It's real estate stocks that are doing well, and especially the beaten down ones. So HDIL, Unitech, both of these counters in sharp hell. Cadila Healthcare is seeing a bit of a bounce back in trade today as well. 3.5% jump on that counter. Just pull up a 5-day chart on Cadila because this has been beaten down after its numbers. So seeing a minor pullback in today's trading session, but it's still a 7%, nearly 7% cut that you've had in the last few trading sessions on this one. Amit, Cadila Healthcare on the chart. Do you expect this short-term pullback to continue, or is this a false breakout and should be used as a shorting opportunity?
See, Cadila had been doing very well when the entire pharma cycle was not doing well. I think the opposite is true now. While the stocks which were correcting earlier are actually bottoming out and moving up, and something like Cadila, which was doing well when the pharma cycle itself was not doing well, is actually coming under pressure. So I think these short-term moves are just trading bounces, and I think stock has some way to go before it finds some kind of bottom for itself. So I think the stock should overall remain under pressure, basically.
All right, should remain under pressure. But Arun, were you enthused by the recent pharma earnings? I mean, Lupin was a disappointment, Dr. Reddy's was a mixed bag, but Sun Pharma put up a very strong show, especially considering the weak performance of its subsidiary Taro. And you had some bit of a recovery coming in the US business. The price erosions also moved to single digits now. Are signs looking good then for the pharma space? Is the worst behind us on the back of the kind of Q1 numbers you've seen for some of these companies?
Depend three ways to look at it. One, Sun Pharma as a standalone company's results was certainly an exception. Similarly, Lupin was an exception. But by and large, you are seeing traction. The US, which was a sore point with almost all the pharma companies, seems to be getting behind them. Things are picking up. So if I put pharma overall, yes, things are looking better. We also need to understand that it no longer remains as beaten down a sector as it was at the beginning of calendar year 2018. So valuations have played some sort of catch up. So that beta that you were talking of may not be there now. But yes, the sector still looks good. And as the rest of the market continues to get pricier, probably people would do sort of some bottom fishing in pharma, which is still attractively valued.
Ashish, any pharma charts that are looking interesting to you? Cadla for a short-term trade. Glenmark has been picking up a lot of momentum. Divi is losing out today, but has been very active. Ajanta, Wockhardt have also been very active lately.
So Deep, Sun Pharma and Cipla, these are the two names which are looking very promising, and I think one should, if you look at this long-term trend which we are witnessing in Sun Pharma, this is a major breakout which has happened. So I think any dip in Sun Pharma would be an opportunity to take a long bet. 605 should be kept as a stop loss. 660 is a target we are expecting in Sun Pharma. And apart from that, one more interesting trend, and we have discussed it quite a time, is in the mid-cap IT basket, and within that Intellect is one stock we have been recommending since a long time, and last week also at around 245 we discussed this stock. Now it has crossed a 52-week high, and I think if you look at the volumes, if you look at the delivery pattern in this stock is poised for a stronger move towards its previous all-time high, which is around 279. So 279, 280 is a target one can expect in Intellect Design Arena in a shorter term. And Persistent Technologies has also given a 52-week breakout. So I think Persistent also looking good for another 100 rupees jump from current levels.
Persistent and Intellect from the mid-cap IT universe looking good. IT as a basket has been doing well of late. A little quiet in trade today though, but otherwise a very strong rally. 29% nearly on the IT index for this year, and 2.5% for this month so far as well. So IT definitely a sector you should keep an eye out on. NBFCs, that's where some of the traction seems to be coming back. You've had frontline names like an L&T Housing Finance that have already rallied from about 150 odd to about 180. But traders have been talking about some kind of a catch-up rally coming in names like a DHFL, a Magma FinCorp, even something like an LIC Housing. Indiabulls Housing Finance from the large cap universe is seeing a lot of traction, especially in the futures universe. And all of these stocks, in fact, are trading at the highs of the day right now. So let me get a technical check from Ashish and Amar, and then I'll ask Arun what he feels. Ashish, any of these NBFC charts looking good? IB Housing, Magma, DHFL?
So I think, as far as Indiabulls Housing is concerned, it has formed a strong base now at around 1259, 1260 zone. So yes, I think this could be a good pullback trade. At least in a shorter term, one can expect a target around 1330, and for that, I think 1268 should be kept as a trading stop loss.
Amar, what about you? Any names that look good in the NBFC universe?
I would say that one can look at DHFL, because if we look at DHFL, what we are seeing is that this stock is displaying an upside momentum, and currently it's around 660 levels. And technically, if you look at it from a short-term perspective, the stock is extremely strong. Even from a long-term perspective, the stock has been consolidating and broken out of the range 650. That was a crucial resistance zone. So this is one stock one can look at.
Arun, could there be a fundamental case for NBFCs? Because some of the drawbacks are your two recent back-to-back rate hikes from RBI, already competing with banks for home loans, higher cost of funds, bond yields have been elevated. In that backdrop, is there a fundamental case to invest in NBFCs with the argument that if banks are doing well, the financial space has to do well, and therefore NBFCs look good?
Yes, your logic is perfectly in place. We also need to understand that typically rising interest rates augurs well for this sector, because though there is a lag effect in repricing the loans that have been given, incremental loans come in faster when rates are rising, because the consumer expects another hike to happen round the corner. Secondly, the focus of almost all NBFCs over the last few quarters has been retail. And retail has been doing quite well, whether it is housing, whether it is consumption, whatever may be the nature. And this is a sector where pricing is fairly flexible. And you as a customer have a wide choice between various customers. And this is the space where everybody is looking for. So I believe there is a case for NBFCs, but one needs to look at their balance sheets a little carefully and not just look at stock prices and P multiples.
Any favorites?
Oh yeah, there is a list. I mean, if you start from various segments, if you start from housing segment, I think a PNB housing, LIC housing would continue to remain my top picks. The fact that PNB housing is looking for a buyer to buy out PNB makes it an attractive share, because once that buyout is completed, the company would have no more hangover of a sale whatsoever. So that would be my top pick.
All right, that is the topic in that space. So let's get a couple of final ideas then. Amit, anything that's caught your eye in the first 20 minutes of trade?
Yeah. So yeah, see, Berger Paint is something which was also. I mean, it's a top pick. I think it's headed for some 8-10% kind of an up move. I think 360 should be on the card. So Berger Paint is something looking good. One can have a stop loss, below 320. So that stock is something which is looking good.
All right, Berger Paints definitely a good short-term trade. 320 is the stop loss on that one. Amar, final word to you then. Anything else that's caught your eye? A good short-term trade or maybe a couple of days trade?
Yeah, I would say ITC looks extremely strong on the charts. The way it has reached the 308, 310 levels. So I would say that any pullback in this stock can be used as a buying opportunity. The stop loss needs to be below 307 levels, and on the upside one can look at 325 levels in the short term.
325 levels are possible on an ITC. Amit, Amar, Ashish as well as Arun, thanks so much for your time this morning and taking us through your reading of the markets. Global pullback taking Indian markets high as well at the high point of the day on the Nifty right now. 11,460 odd is where you're at right now. Similar is the gain coming in on Bank Nifty, back above